We have a technical presentation from Mr. Brijesh Miglani, Solutions Engineering Leader, Netskope. He's just joining us in a minute. We will also be joined by Mr. Sandeep, Khatri, Solutions Engineering Netskope for the presentation.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon all. This is the last session. After that, there's a lunch, right? Before the lunch? Okay, so till the time, I think the presentation is getting uploaded. How's your day from the morning? Is that good? Okay. How's the Josh? Is that good? Okay. Okay. So I think from the morning we are hearing multiple things, right? So I represent Netskope here. Netskope as a company is a cybersecurity company focusing on the modern risk which we are seeing across the industry. In a state like, if you have seen what Mr. Pradeep Batra also mentioned, that there are investments which Uttarakhand is doing in terms of building their own data platforms, AI platform, AI governance, and all. So we typically help and also helping many states and governments across building those data and AI governance security, right? And we will discuss that in a minute once presentation is there. So the thought is in the industry, every organization, whether it's a government, whether it's enterprise, every department is using some pieces of AI, right? Artificial intelligence. Now gone are the days where people are saying, okay, I'm using maybe a chat GPT or Gemini or Claude. Claude is still a bit new. But people are moving to now autonomous agents or agentic AI, right? People create their own agents to solve a problem. For example, in a state, they process and capture so much data across the different departments. And now that data is lying within certain data lake or a data storage. How you bring some analytics to that data? Because as a part of a government, you have to launch certain initiatives, right? And initiatives which will help the end user, the end citizens. Without doing those data analytics, you can't do that. And that's where the states are building agents to do those automations and analytics. And that's where our role comes, that when these agents are touching these data and data lakes, how we bring security along with it, right? Because data is also a very critical and a sensitive factor. Now, the other areas which we are also seeing in terms of across the India, and I'm sure every department within in India is very relevant for that initiative, is our regulations, right? Regulations we are seeing in across all the industries, and now the data privacy regulation, which is DPDPA, is very relevant to the individual India PII information, right? Because every state process and captures the India PII, right? You captures the Aadhaar card number, or maybe a PAN card number, or maybe a license and all those details. Now all those details also needs to be secured. And that's where our data governance platform will come into picture to provide you not only data security, but also a data privacy governance as well. So these are the few things which we will discuss within this session. And then definitely we have a booth outside if you want to go more deeper into any set of technology, how we are helping different power department within the state, how we are helping different statewide area networks within the state, revenues and recognitions department, also in terms of not only power distribution but also into power generation departments. So I think every department is using some ways of AI and data connectivity, and that's where our security comes into picture. Okay, so now the other thing, I think the messaging which we are also putting across to different states. So in the last 1 year, we have covered close to 7 to 8 states. And the common messaging that we are seeing that every state want to become more Viksit or Atmanirbhar, right? in a terms of their consumptions, not in terms of their energy and resources, but also in the form of tech power, in the top a form of IT and AI initiatives. If you have seen the Digital India AI mission is the central driving force with Mr. Modi has inaugurated and mentioned about, and now every state and now Uttarakhand also talked about his AI mission in last year 2025, right? So if you see within this AI missions, the bigger AI governance platforms are getting built, and that's where the security is very much relevant within that as well. Now, if I ask you what you see as a part of risk, because I'm sure you are using some parts of data while accessing the applications, what you see as one of the biggest threat within your organizations? Anyone till the time we get that slides on? Anyone? Is it too tiring from morning or? Hello, Rajnish. Is it too tiring from the morning? Okay. So I'll then bring certain points. I think one bigger factor which we have seen in cybersecurity in the last 5-6 years, and I think it's present in the last 2-3 decades. I think everyone is giving access to certain applications based on the networks. So they say, okay, you want to access any applications, you have to be part of this network before you access the application, right? It's very much relevant that I have to be part of maybe ITDA or a power or any other department while access the application. Now, when I say I want this network to be there to authorize your application access, which means when I'm outside, I have to also dial in my network, where you call a technology as a VPN, to connect to my application, which means that to connect to an application, we are still focusing on network, which typically define an implicit trust. That, okay, this person is coming from this network, so give him access. Now, with this specific architecture, we have seen so many cyber attacks, so many ransomware attacks has been launched, and that is the reason entire industry spread across, whether it's a government, enterprise and all, are moving towards zero trust. Now, when they say zero trust, it means if I have to connect to an application and Brijesh needs to have access to only 2 or 3 applications, he do not needs to have an access to the entire network. And that has changing the industry to be more secure, irrespective of wherever you are coming and connecting. You will connect to an application in a secure way. Yes, you can come into different technologies in terms of micro-segmentation and all, but this is the way where I say, I will not trust Brijesh every time when he connects to an application. I will always check where the Brijesh is, whether he's authenticated, whether there is some multi-factor is enforced, whether his device from which he's connecting is in a good state. After connecting, what he's doing, whether he's exchanging certain data, all these set of attributes typically comes as a part of zero trust architecture. Okay, so that's the other area, I think, other factor where most of the organizations are investing into. Now, do we still takes time or 2 minutes? Your 2 minutes or my 2 minutes? My 2 minutes. Okay. Okay. Let's move to the other factor, and let me talk about. So, how many of you has started focusing on AI governance? And do you think that AI governance is really important? Okay. So definitely it's an evolving world. Every day there is new things which are coming. We have seen now Claude launched in the industry, and most of the IT and SaaS stock price gone down. $300+ billion stock market has been vanished with the launch of Claude. Okay, so you see the power of agents which are coming. So governing those agents' communications is very important. Why it's very important? Because now you will be using these agents in a real critical sectors. These agents are getting used for preparing medicines in a pharma. These agents are getting used for communicating the power consumptions to the end users. That's where the AI is getting enforced. So all the critical infrastructures also is where these agents are getting connected. Okay, when I say critical infrastructures, it can be telco, it can be power, it can be state data centers and other set of factors as well. Now, apart from data, definitely it brings those automations and all. Now, AI governance typically are very beautifully written by certain frameworks. So I'll refer to a NIST here. So what NIST says that first of all, I need to have a visibility of what are the agents running within my environment. Because security cannot be enforced till the time it's not visible, right? So that's the first thing, that we should be aware where our agents are. The second thing is, we should be aware what is the risk of those agents, how they are communicating, what are the data access they enroll. Because by design, what we have seen in industry, that as soon as you create your data store, data lake, or data platform, you bring an agent and you give all the data to that agent. You don't do any rollback, you don't do any least privilege access and give the entire thing to it. So, okay, slides are ready. Okay, finally, so we are here. So in the next 10 minutes, will not take much time. I think I've already taken 7-8 minutes. So this is more like a conversation, because I have not seen those energy from you in a type of conversation. I have got my own chatbot, right? So now I can do a prompt and response with this chatbot, right? So he will ask our challenges, I will respond with the response, with the solutioning format. So let's start. I think the one of the major factor, and I think I have already talked this about, that the new imperative is already has been let down. I think I've already mentioned the AI mission. We also heard that Uttarakhand has also started this AI mission, and I was hearing Mr. Minister outside just that where we are focusing on AI. I've already touched that the critical sectors are where these are also getting enforced. And we all believe into that castle and moat, right? I want an access, I have to be in network. That story has brought us so much ransomware, so much attacks. So that will not going to fly. Now, what we have seen, and I was typically playing with Claude or any other thing, and I said, okay, let me bring all the security initiatives which Uttarakhand has done. And the good part is 90% that generative AI was very much aligned, right? So there are all these initiatives which we have seen is happening within Uttarakhand. There are e-governance platform which we have seen from many years. There are AI mission, AI-driven governance, and as Madam you mentioned that AI governance is definitely the core area. We have seen CERT is contributing to reduce that attack surface to make sure that the sources of our ransomwares needs to be shared and needs to be blocked. And then definitely the state data centers and the new technologies are coming into pictures. Okay. So with all that coming into place, let's understand what is our challenge one.
So, in today's environment, if I talk about Brijesh, the main challenge which we see is an implicit trust. So, when I'm saying implicit trust, okay, there is an organization where we deploy a firewall, there are antivirus installed, and there are applications running, there are insider threats, right? So, what's your take in that? How do we take care of this implicit trust? Because that itself is a big risk.
So, I think what I have seen in the industry, and I always follow, that before you design a solution, you have to follow a common protocol or a common framework. Okay, and that's where the zero trust framework come into picture. Okay, and what typically zero trust focus on, that I should follow a least privilege access. Okay. If I don't need any data, why I need an access for that? Okay. For example, if we are collecting an Aadhaar card information for a specific purpose, maybe for a KYC or something, it has to be consumed and used for that purpose only. Okay. So from that's where it has to be start, and then definitely it has to be identity centric rather than network. You don't need to follow your IPs. It has to be identity and your segmentations and the SASE architectures which talk about that everything needs to be enforced closer to the user. Security has to be closer to the user, needs to be followed. So basis that, what we have built within a Netskope is a policy engine which plays on not only risk, because everyone in the industry has sold products, appliances purely based on the risk. No one has questioned the trust. Okay, people are saying, oh, he's working in this department from the last 20 years. He's in a government department. He will not leave. He will not join any other company. Why can't we trust? It's not about that individual. It's about a machine and an asset which he's using. That asset can get compromised. And that's where the trust also needs to be challenged across the sector.
Okay. So the next challenge is about AI and data. So nowadays, I think in the morning, the sir has mentioned about the new model which is being introduced by Anthropic, right? So which itself is a big risk wherein they can do an vulnerability assessment and they can immediately do an exploitation. So we have a big risk in terms of AI, and we need to act fast in terms of how we are using the AI. How do we govern the AI? So what's your take in terms of AI? What in terms of data leakage if we cannot control the AI governance?
Fine. So within a 1 and 2 minutes, I can give you a glimpse. I can give you a more detail over the booth, and I can do maybe a more workshop within your office. Okay. So I'll keeping time in mind. The first and the foremost thing, you should have a visibility. You should know what are the AI applications are getting used within my environment. And not only AI applications, agentic communications. Agentic communications use their own protocols. MCP is one of them. And definitely identity, because identity with the agents are non-human. Those are not human identities. Okay, and that's where the industry is moving. So visibilities are definitely important. After a visibility, you should also have a risk attached to those communications, and then you will do a runtime security. Runtime means when I am interacting with an agent, or agent interacting with an LLM, or I am interacting with a cloud. It can be any communications. And that's where we have mapped our security AI engines, where we provide a database of all the AIs that we see. You can enforce the controls, and not only allow and block, you can enforce a control that for this agent, I don't want this sensitive data to be allowed. And this sensitive data is DPDPA sensitive, PII sensitive. So all those controls you can do. And then once you have that visibility, you can also have a complete posture for part of a data governance, which can be plotted into a form of a dashboard that also we do. Next. And then you have a runtime security for data controls. So all those things are a part of a platform. Keeping time in mind, we can be very focused, but you have a different context, because the only thing which we are driving towards in security is building more context. If you have a context, you can define a better security. And this is the platform, which is a single engine, hybrid, can be enforced on-premise within our data centers. And that's typically the Netskope one. I think that's it from our side. And these are all the compliance. So now with DPDPA, everything is data localized within India. All telemetries are here. And the last thing which we are driving, I think very closer with APAC Media team also, the last slide, if you bring. Yeah. You don't have the last one? Yeah. This is the slide which I love. Okay. This is what we have actually done in the last 1 year and with the APAC Media itself. Okay. So thank you for your time. Thank you for hearing me. Thank you.
Thank you, both of you. May I now request Ms. Shivani Bhuti, GM, Software Development ITDA, to kindly felicitate our speakers with a token of gratitude. Please give them a big round of applause.